Welcome to an introduction to accounting, brought to you by Parkbench Tutors, narrated by David Hopcroft. Parkbench Tutors. You can find us on Facebook. In this podcast we are going to look at different ways of allocating overheads and consider why we want to use different methods. How do we allocate in terms of a cost per unit? Well, with a business that only produces one product, then there's a fairly easy cost calculation that we do. Let's take Brian Electronics producing a laptop, and they produce 200 units in a month, and we determine the costs by considering direct materials, labour and expenses, and also by looking at overheads. So I'm going to look at their figures for the last month. The cost per unit: 10,000 for direct materials, 45,000 for direct labour, 250 for direct expenses, 1,062 for overheads. So my total cost for the Which laptops was 56,312. But we made 200 of these, so I divide that total by 200, and I get a cost per unit of £281.56 per computer. So that was a very simple calculation. Now, 6 months down the road, Brian Electronics have expanded their activities, and they're now producing a mobile phone as well as the laptop. Now, will this same costing system work? Let's compare the direct costs. Here we have the direct costs for the phone. The laptop ones we've already met, so we're looking at 3,000 direct material, 15,000 labour, 260 expenses, a total of 18,260 for the phone. So in each case, and this is what's important, the direct costs are for 200 units. So to produce 200 phones it costs 18,260. To produce 200 laptops, 55,250, which works out at £91.30 for the phone, £276.25 for the laptop. So if I take the overheads for the month, which happen to be £15.80, and we produce 400 units, that's £3.95 a unit. So now the question is, should the phones and laptops be charged overheads at the same rate, or is there a better way of handling this? So producing each laptop requires more labour and more direct materials. So what could we possibly use as a different base? Well, we could look at the rate per direct labour hour, or the rate per machine hour, or we could look at the percentage of materials cost. And of course there are other things that we might use as well. We're just going to consider using direct labour hours or materials. So direct materials for the phone and the laptop, 3,000 for the phone, 10,000 for the laptop. Direct labour, 15,000 for the phone, 45,000 for the laptop. So if I use the materials and use it as a percentage of the total, the total for materials used for the laptop would be 77%, and for the phone 23%. If I used for labour, I would find 75% was for the laptop, 25% for the phone. What I've taken is the percentage of the total cost. So total direct materials cost were 13,000. So the 77% is 10,000 over 13,000 multiplied by 100 over 1, and so on. So if we apply these to the overheads, if I were to use this method to apply to the overheads, first of all for materials, 23% for the phone, 77% for the laptop. So as a percentage of 1580, for the phone I would get £363, and for the laptop I would get 1,217, which if I work that out per unit, there were 200 units of each, would give £1.82 for the phone, or £6.09 for the laptop as the rate to apply the overheads. If I did it with labour, it's 25% for the phone, 75% for the laptop. That comes to £395 for the phone, 1,185 for the laptop, and as a rate per unit it gives £1.97 per phone and £5.93 for the laptop. So let's just look at that in summary. So before we used this method of allocation, we were just allocating all the overheads at a rate of £3.95 for any item, and we asked whether there was any other method of doing this. Well, there are. So, using direct labour costs, for example, we could then reallocate so that we got the phone getting £1.97 per unit and the laptop £5.93 per unit. Now remember, in costing and in managerial accounting, we're always looking for more accurate methods of applying costs and absorbing costs, and this is one way in which we might consider doing this. This ends our podcast, brought to you by Parkbench Tutors. You can find us on Facebook, and you can also find us at parkbenchtutors.com. For those of you who don't want to go searching through YouTube, you can find all our playlists if you sign up on Moodle just by visiting parkbenchtutors.com. Right, sign up on Moodle by visiting parkbenchtutors.com.